Hi, this is Robert Barrick, and I'm doing this video clip one more time. I've gotten new information that requires that I do yet another take. This is my 5th submission that I'm going to be posting to YouTube, and I made a mistake on the last video indicating that it was the 5th, but this is the 5th. It is December 6th, Thursday. The focus of this video is the fact that I have been fired from my job. What led up to that is what I'm going to discuss here over the next, it's about 25 minutes. I've done it 2 or 3 times, and that's how long it takes. But anyway, I'm going to get started. For those of you who have seen the previous, the last video or any of the 4 other submissions, you are somewhat aware of the situation. I am being illegitimately investigated by dirty detectives within the Indianapolis Police Department. And when I say dirty cops, what I'm referring to is their methods, their tactics, that they are violating the law. This has manifested itself in 3 ways that have led me to file a lawsuit against them in federal court, as well as contact several public officials, local judges, the director of the Citizens Police Complaint Department, the FBI. The 3 components that make up the majority of the lawsuit is referred to as stigmatization. It's stigmatization and interference with association, stigmatization and interference with employment, and illegal surveillance. These dirty cops are waging a smear campaign against me. They are unable. They have targeted me based on false accusations. They are unable, which are false, categorically, unequivocally false, and yet they still continue to smear me with them because they are unable to charge me with any of them. So they're taking on the mantle of being the judge, the jury, and the executioner. They are interfering, destroying my life because they can't do anything legitimately against me, so they're de facto convicting me through stigmatization. They've turned my family against me, which has led me to be staying in a low-end motel for the last 3 weeks. I relocated here from California with the promise of being helped and supported in my time of need by my brother. But I have, over the course of the 8 weeks that I lived there, they stigmatized me, and the police stigmatized me and turned my family against me, and it eventually led to some violence, and so I left. It's now led to me being a pretext being manufactured to fire me from my job. Although funny, the justification that I just received by text is that they're cutting back due to lack of work. And that was after just basically, well, I'll go through that real quick. I'll get to that part. Unlike my other 4 videos, I haven't used notes before, but I want to cover a lot in a short amount of time, and so I wrote down a few of the thoughts. The 3rd thing, besides interference with my family, turning them against me, well, everyone, everyone in the community that I turn to for help, they've stigmatized me. When I've reached out to lawyers, in those cases, I've been stigmatized with at least 2 of them, seeking legal representation with these false accusations. Before getting the job that I have now been fired from, which I was only able to get through the auspices of a family member, all the jobs that I had applied to where they had shown, the prospective employer had shown interest in me, they were stigmatized by these dirty cops. So that's where we're at. The third thing is that they're executing this persecution campaign, utilizing high-tech surveillance, and I discussed in the previous video particularly the use of a drone, which is technically called an unmanned aircraft system, and it's equipped with high-tech surveillance equipment, and one of the items that they use is this metal detector, and I explained how that is being used to torment me in the last video. As I said, I've been living in a motel room for pushing 3 weeks now, and I've also been looking for a place to live, because even this is cost prohibitive, and now even more so since I'm not working or don't have a job anymore. So I've been working in the evening. I go in at 2:30 and I work until 11. So I have my mornings, and so what I've been doing is going to either the law library or the adjacent college library and working on my complaint and other legal filings or other legal related preparation for the lawsuit that I filed. And after a few hours doing that, if I have a couple errands to run, I do that on my way to work. And so this week on Tuesday, 2 days ago, I was again looking for a place to live, and I found one. I went to a rental place that I had heard of in the city, and I went there and found out that they only rent to people who are technically homeless, on the street homeless. But very nice lady that I spoke to there, her name is, I believe, Stephanie, referred me to a colleague, Jeanette. And so I got in contact, she put me in contact with Jeanette, and I saw a place, small in a sort of a bad neighborhood, but the right price. And so I said I'd think about it, but about 10 minutes after I left, I go, I need to grab it. And so I called her and I said, what do I need to do? I want to take it. And she said, drop by the application tomorrow and we'll go from there. So I went to work, and I've already been contending with the stigmatization that the smear campaign and the empoisonment of my employer and what that has done to affect me. And specifically, from the very first day that I was there, I started to be treated as a criminal. I was being observed and watched. I was what I refer to as being crotch-watched, where they're looking to see whether I've been shoving, stealing stuff, because that's one of the many false accusations that these dirty, filthy cops levy. And I've been standing up for myself. As I said, I've been contacting public officials, letting them know, seeing what I could do to stop this illegitimate tactic, including and up to filing the lawsuit, which, again, the illegal surveillance has been misused to inform my employer of all the actions that I'm taking, which has further incited them and incentivized them to manufacture a justification for terminating me, a pretext. And so that's what they've done today. And they've tried it before in the past. So anyway, I went to work on Tuesday. When I arrive, I work doing the job. I work, as I explained previously, as a pallet inspector at a warehouse where I am auditing the merchandise that is going to be shipped out. And over a new tactic, or it's not new anymore, but over the past 4 weeks or so, one of the manufacturing of Pretext has been to sabotage my work. And so that's been going on. Anyway, so Tuesday I found the apartment. Wednesday, go to the library, go and fill out the application for the apartment, go to work, experience the isolation and the ostracism and the attempts to trip me up in the performance of my job. Because if you make a mistake and a pallet goes out to a customer and then is declined and returned because there was an error, then the auditor is held responsible, and repeated offenses can lead to termination. Well, I guess they've bypassed that. Although they were doing it up until last night. And that's really part of the focus of the conversation that I'm sharing here now. So Wednesday, so Wednesday I go to the library, do my work, go and fill out the application, get some information about when I turn in the application. Well, get this. They gave me a task, which was to take a form to have it verified at my bank and faxed to them. So I was going to do that. Well, I did it this morning. So on Wednesday night, I went to work, and it was a particularly horrendous day. And so what happened is, as I said, my employer and these dirty cops are in concert, found a justification or manufactured a reason to fire me, although it wasn't for cause, or it wasn't for doing something wrong. It was simply lack of work. So that's really not true. But what's been leading up to it is that I've been collecting evidence, taking notes at work about what's befalling me, that have included all the times, and not all the times, but some of the times that I've been slurred. Another one of the tactics of these dirty cops is to dehumanize me as this dirty fag. This dirty criminal fag who's filed a lawsuit because he wants to, reap illegitimate reward, squeezes for money. And so that further incites through twisting the truth that I am trying to stop the torment, stop the destruction of my life, clear my name, and bring these criminals with badges to be accountable for their crimes. So anyway, I had a double whammy last night. As I explained in the previous video, the use of the metal detecting device that is installed on the drone that is surveilling me 24/7, it has been being discharged onto my person. Previously it was 50, 60, 70 times a day. This has been going on for a couple of weeks. But last night, I had hoped that it had appeared briefly that my video might have had some impact, because it stopped for about 2 hours. Just about the time I arrived at work, because in the morning it was still quite horrible. I was awoken at 5 a.m. by the discharge of this device, and they continued to exploit it against me during that whole day, all the time that I'm in the library working on the complaint to file against them. They are discharging this device to frighten, upset, and torment and torture me. And there's apparently nothing I can do about it. They're, as I said, criminals with badges. So last night, as I said, for a couple hours it seemed like it had stopped. But then, a little after 5 o'clock, I had written down between 5:40 and 6:15, it reemerged with a vengeance. I started to take a tally list of how many times it occurred in this 40-minute period, and it was over 70 times. 70 times. And in conjunction with that was that it was a new form of sabotage that was occurring with my coworkers. The pickers, who have been empoisoned against me by the employers, as well as, in some cases the police directly, to hate me. He's this dirty fag, who's trying to sue us. Don't talk to him, and then try and get him fired or make his life miserable. It was made especially miserable last night, and I mentioned that I was going to make this video, and boom, things started to happen. I mean, it continued to be a horrible night, but there is regular, frequent, and contact between these dirty cops who are observing me 24/7 with this device, and my empoisoned employers who desperately want to find a pretext to fire me. So last night the pallets were being built by the pickers in such a way that they were not auditable unless you spent a great deal of time. The way the process works is that auditing is just double checking an accuracy. You're checking for quantity, date, and correct product, and the pallet should be constructed from the various items that are being picked to be put on it in such a way that it makes it easy, or not easy, but where it only takes a couple of minutes to validate it and move on to the next. It's only when there are errors that you have to inspect it much more thoroughly and, in fact, break it down. Well, that happened multiple times last night. Now, previously, I've been trying to collect evidence about this, but I was hesitant to do so last night. There were so many of them; it was so busy. I was getting this constant attack from the metal detection device, and it's primarily being shot at my private area. So it is particularly offensive and horrifying. It was a tremendously stressful evening, but I didn't. It was upsetting to me, and I did bring it to the attention of my coworker later that this was a problem, and it had been going on all night. And my coworker, who is a 3-year member of the staff, also empoisoned against me, but at least talks to me, was dismissive of the legitimate concern of what was going on in a sort of conforming. When I first started working in this area with this gentleman, he was particularly antagonistic towards mistakes and the people that the pickers who made them, and on top of them about it. But now it was like, oh, errors happen. Well, that was a definitive change in his behavior. But nothing about that. Let me just move on. So last night was an especially difficult night, and was retaliatory from that video from the other day, as all of them were. As was my acknowledgement that I was going to make this video today, led to me being fired. Let's see. I do want to move on. Oh, okay. So this morning, I got up and I I didn't go to the library this morning because I wanted to nail down the housing, which is another area that the corrupt police have interfered with previously, and I think that they have already, although, knock on wood, that was the only good thing that happened. I did get tentatively approved today, which is I was hoping to, and I'm hoping to move into this place tomorrow. Even though at this point I don't know how I'm going to pay the next month's rent. So I went and did that. First I made arrangements at the hotel because at that point I didn't know I was approved, so I talked to the manager and paid for one more night, which is tonight, and made an arrangement that if it fell through I would rent another week. and so I didn't need to do that. So I'm only spending one more night here and then moving into a place tomorrow, knock on wood. So I got up to secure that by going to the bank and submitting this form to have faxed over to them. And then I called the agent. Her name was Jeanette, the one that had showed me the apartment the other day, and she was very nice and very helpful. And we talked a couple of times. And she also told me that she needed employment verification. And I had written on my application where I worked, but it didn't ask for any details. And so we had talked about it on the first day that I was going to give her the name of my immediate supervisor, Jeremy, and she had said, but I told her that I had that where I worked was supplied with people through a temp agency, and she said, well, give me the contact information for the temp agency, which I forgot to do during the application stage on Tuesday or Wednesday, so I did it today. So that was part of the phone conversation. So I gave her the name and phone number of the contact, Chelsea, at the temp service, and then after I got done talking to Jeanette, I called and left a message for Chelsea. And I was in the process of texting her what my question was that I had left on voicemail, and she called me back during that. And at that point, I started to discuss the issue with her, but she dropped the bomb, that she had received an email after 5 o'clock that that my services were no longer needed as an auditor, and that was it. That was, I guess, the entire content of the email from Jeremy's kind of assistant, whose name is Cameron, who has also been in regular contact with these dirty cops. And they had attempted this action before, which I had mentioned to Chelsea about approximately 2 weeks ago on a Thursday. I won't go into details about that here, but it was a very sort of disturbing experience where I had to wait in the break room for 2 hours to find out, what was to be the outcome. And eventually I was told, oh, well, I was needed in another area, and so I went to that other area only to be told, well, our work is almost done, we'll be leaving in an hour. So that doesn't really, that's kind of incongruous that, oh, we need you in this area, and then you go to that area and, oh, we're leaving. So anyway, that was, I think, an effort to fire me that was, for whatever reason, given up. And then 2 weeks later, it happened today. In the course of the conversation that I had with Chelsea, she asked me, why I thought that I would be, if there had been a problem that she wasn't aware of, and I said, well, no, that I had come in and do my work when, conscientiously, that I'm a hard worker, that I'm on time more than not. No, I won't even say that. I'm on time, and it's only rarely that I'm not. Now, and then I also, I guess, added a caveat to that there have been a couple occasions when I have been absent or tardy as a result of my legal issue. And then she asked the question, well, what is the legal issue? And so I went into the whole situation, at which point she had said something of the nature that, well, I haven't heard anything about that. And I didn't challenge what she had said, but I did, sort of a wink and a nod. I explained that I understand what she was saying, but it's just not credible. That in fact everyone is being contacted, and she would absolutely have been one of them as well. But I didn't correct her or challenge her on that. I simply stated, well, the fact is that if you're the target of a covert police investigation, they're not going to allow you, if they contact you, to notify the target. And so you would be prohibited from doing so. But I don't think that they even necessarily have to use that tacit threat of obstruction of justice or impeding investigation, because they stigmatize